Most salespeople think that objections happen at the end of the call. Not quite correct. The objections are actually surfacing throughout the call, normally in the first 10 to 15 minutes. You're only handling them at the end of the call. And most salespeople don't even do that as well as they should do. Now, my philosophy is that you should be as sharp as a tack, which means when you do get an objection that you need to be able to handle it as sharp as you would if somebody just asked your name, which means you need to learn your objections. Now, I'm not one for word tracks and scripting, but when it comes to smokescreen objections, most of the time what you're trying to do is just identify what the real objection is. So naturally, you're going to have word tracks off the back of it. If it comes to a real objection, you're probably going to handle that a little bit more naturally, unscripted, because you're going to use a lot of what you've already learned on the call more often than not to actually handle the real objections. And if it's a logistical objection, you're just going to handle it with common sense anyway. So what we're going to cover in this video, we're going to take a look at the 5 most common smokescreen objections, and we are going to get you to the point where you can handle these objections and answer as cleanly as if somebody's just asked you what the capital of England is. Now, just a little bit of a heads up. If I'm working with an organisation where they've asked me to come in, take a look at their sales team to see how we can sort of like make it more efficient, one of the first things that I do is I ask them these 3 questions. I say, what is the capital of England? And they all say London, really sharp. I ask them, what 3 times 5? And they'll go 15, well, most of them anyway. And then I say, how do you handle I need to think about it? And they're like, what is it that you need to think about? A, you sounded like a child being asked a question you don't know the answer to. B, you didn't know the answer to it because that is not how you handle that objection. And C, out of all 3 of those questions, the only one that's directly correlated to how much money you actually make as a salesperson is the last one, and that's the one you didn't know the answer to. So we have to be in a position where we're super sharp with these objections. Let's get stuck into them. Now, before we get stuck into the video, if you don't know who I am, my name's Adam Davies. I'm the CEO and founder of Sales Chief. We're a fractional sales agency. What that means is we take care of sales recruitment, looking after your sales team, coaching your sales team, taking a look at the operations, really understanding your numbers, making sure that your sales team is run like a military operation. If you're a business owner and you want to find out a little bit more about what we do, check out saleschief.co, or there'll be a link in the description. If you're a sales rep that's looking to be placed, we have if you search on School for the UK High Ticket Job Board, that is the best place to get started your journey with potentially being placed with one of our clients. Before we go into the actual objection handles, what we need to first understand, what is the difference between a smokescreen objection and a real objection? It seems simple and it seems obvious, but too many sales reps get too drawn in and over complicating smokescreen objections. What they are is something that the prospect is saying to you that A, they do believe it, by the way, but B, it's a cover up for something else, something a little bit deeper. If somebody says they want to think about it, they're not trying to think forefront of their mind, what can I say to not commit to this call or to this sale? What can I think of? They're not thinking like that. They genuinely believe that they need to think about it, but there's something else that's forcing that. So let's say, for example, you're trying to pitch a course, for example, and you're speaking to somebody that's already bought a course before in the past, it didn't work out for them, and now they're really hesitant. They probably do think they need to think about it. But is that the objection? Think about it. No, the objection is they've been burnt before in the past and they've now got a major trust issue. They need a little bit more to know deep down that this is the right thing for them, or they're just apprehensive about committing again. Naturally, that might happen, right? We've got to remember these people are human beings. They're not robots that are designed to try and manipulate you into not buying. There is an old saying, there's a sale made on every single call. You're either selling your stuff or they're selling you on their shit, which is really true, but it's not like as aggressive as that potentially sounds. So, number 1 objection that you're probably facing, and this is the one that if you're going to learn one, I mean, I would recommend having them all off the top of your head, but if you're going to learn one, it's this one, because this is the number 1 objection you're always going to get. It's let me think about it, let me sleep on it, can we have a conversation a few days, whatever way it's disguised, right? Translation, I don't feel safe committing right now. That's it. There's a deeper meaning. But why? That is your job. The framework of handling any real objection, because again, we don't put word tracks, we have a framework for real objections. We acknowledge the objection, we isolate the objection, then we handle it, and then we reclose. Smokescreen objections is part of the isolation process. So if you get, I need to think about it, your response should be something like this. Again, there's more than one way to skin a cat. I'd love to see the way you handle objections actually in the comments. So if you would handle these objections any different, love to hear it. I love seeing different ways, different strategies, different styles of actually handling the objections. And look, there's a ton of variables, who you're speaking to, your demographic and stuff like that. But the ones I'm going to share with you today will pretty much tick the boxes for most of those. So if you get I just need to think about it, completely get it. There's your acknowledgement. But look, it's information, not time, that's actually going to help you make a decision, whether that's a yes or no, by the way. Sell the exit. Don't sound like a needy salesperson. So what information is it specifically that you need to see or hear from me for you to be able to make that decision, whether that is a yes or a no? And just shut up, because they'll tell you. And if they need a little bit of prompting, if they're a little bit unsure, well, look, is it the course? Is it the price or product, if it's not necessarily a course? Is it the investment? Is it us? Where's that hesitation coming from? Let them tell you. Then you're going to find out what the real objection is, and you just go through the framework again. Acknowledge it, look, completely get it. Isolate it, depending on what the objection is. That's going to happen in a multitude of different ways. Once we know that is the real thing, we can then handle it and then go back in for a close. But if you're just going to keep trying to handle I need to think about it objection, like some needy salesperson, guess what? You're going to get treated like a needy salesperson and you're going to lose them. This is where people start to feel pressure. You're going to get to the real objection, the real thing, the real concern that they've actually got, and then you're actually going to solve it like adults. Welcome to the real world. This is sales. Now, on to the next one. I need to speak to my partner. And I actually quite like this objection because, do you know what? When I first started in sales, 17 years ago, it was probably a slightly different time to even where we are now, where now most families, particularly if it's like a B2C type product, most families are both working. So there is an element to this probably isn't always going to be a smokescreen. More often than not, it definitely is, by the way. I'm not trying to give you a way out to not actually handle this objection. But we live in a modern world now where if you're speaking to the husband, for example, and the wife earns just as much money as he has, and they've both contributed towards their savings, so it probably makes sense for him to actually say to her, look, I'm just about to spend this money on this. Like it can be a real objection. So again, we're going to isolate it to see if it's legit. And look, if it is legit, we want to control the narrative. I'm not saying, okay, great, go speak to your wife, we'll catch up whenever you fancy it. Obviously not. We want to see what's happening, how that conversation's going to go. We want to try and help him. Look, follow-ups, we're looking for a reason to say yes. We're not looking for a reason to say no. So we want him speaking to his partner, trying to get a yes, not like, oh, I've been speaking to this company, but they're really expensive. Obviously, that's just going to go one way. It's going to be, look, we're not in a literally can't afford it at the moment, let's wait 6 months or whatever, then you're just going to lose that sale. But to isolate it or to get on top of it, because more often than not it is going to be a smokescreen, yeah, completely fine. Look, we live in a modern world now and want to be the responsible for any divorces. And look, if it's a business partner one as well, by the way, for you guys that are handling those, look, completely get it. Don't want you to be losing a business partner over this. Like, just make a little joke about it, whatever it is, to acknowledge it. The first question we're going to ask is actually, it's not that relevant, but it sets up the next question. Is it a case that you need to kind of just run it by them, or is it a case of just letting them know of the decision you're going to be making? It doesn't really matter what they say off the back of that, unless it's anything crazy that needs kind of addressing. But for the most part, they're going to go, oh no, I just need to let them know. Or they'll say that, no, this is our joint money, we need to make sure that they're on board, or whatever it may be, whatever they're saying, right? Okay, cool. Look, well, let's just hypothetically for 1 second imagine that they do say no. Why do you think they would say no? What's going to happen is they're going to tell you their real objection. And this is where the isolation comes in, because if they go, I don't think they will, I think like we're both on board, we both know what we're doing, it's just, I'm not going to go and spend their money, like they've contributed more money than I have to the savings, I'm not going to go and spend their money. That's a rational thing to say. Now we can go on, try and handle it if we can, or it might be a case that we need to go back to these guys and set up a time and have, like I said, control that narrative. But more often than not, they're going to go, it's just a lot of money for us right now. Do you think as a salesperson, if that person you're speaking to already thinks that their partner's going to say that this is too much money, do you think deep down that they think it might be a little bit too much money? Your answer to that should be yes. So that is where the real objection's coming from. And again, that itself isn't just a real objection. There's caveats to that, which makes that a little bit of a smokescreen. So we might bounce from a few smoke screens to actually get to the crux of it. Because the money objection, for most people that you're speaking to, if they're booked in a call, they're on or they've gone through a whole process to get on a call with you guys, they know you're not free. They understand that there's an investment attached to it. So it's really unlikely that they're literally going out on the streets begging, right? So there normally is a way. It's just, do I value this enough to actually spend my money on it right now? But either way, you're going to handle or get through that smokescreen objection of the partner. So next then, let's talk about the money. So expensive, I don't have the money right now, whatever it may be. Now, this could go one of three ways. This could be a smokescreen objection. It could be a real objection. It could also just be a logistical thing. It might just be a case of they need a couple of days to get the money together. So your job isn't to just panic and go into defensive mode. Our product's the best and we do this, and why would you just don't do it. You're going to lose that person immediately. You'll come across like a needy salesperson, treated like a needy salesperson. So to handle this objection, we need to isolate it. It's so important that we isolate that objection. Your acknowledgement's going to come in a few different ways. If you're selling a course where you're showing somebody how to make more money, look, completely get it. Most people are coming to us because they were looking to increase or better their financial situation. So most people that come to us aren't just sitting there flush with 5, 10, 15, 100K just sitting around in their bank account. They need to be resourceful to make this work. But can I just ask you a quick question? Put the money to a side just for 1 second. Based on everything that we've spoken about today and everything that you know to be true about whatever it is you're selling, are you 100% sure beyond doubt that this is going to help you get towards XYZ if it's a towards motivation, or get you away from if it's an away from motivation, to fix this problem, whatever it may be? And then just shut up, because you're going to get two answers here. Very rarely are they going to say no, first of all. They're going to say yes, but it's how they say yes. This is the isolation part. They're going to go, yeah, absolutely. And then you can actually ask them why. And then they'll tell you why it's so important. Then it's just a case of being resourceful, whether it is a logistical objection, whatever it may be, we can go on to handle that. It's just way easier. Because if they haven't got the money and they're literally point blank broke, then unfortunately they just can't do it. And again, more for you for getting to this stage of the conversation without qualifying properly. Not for just for your own sake, but also for that person's sake. We don't want to be getting people to a point where they're excited about changing their life and then pulling the rug out from underneath them because they can't afford it. Your job, your responsibility is also to qualify. That needs to be done well early in the discovery phase. But the other response that you're going to get, and this is where that we need to kind of dig in a little bit more, and this is why it's a smokescreen, because you'll get this way more often than not, is they'll go, yeah, or they'll go, yeah, I think so. They might as well have just said no. So the way to then go on to handle that is, look, I'm going to be really honest with you, John. That is not the most enthusiastic of yes that I've heard today. Where's that hesitation coming from? Is it the investment? Is it the product, whatever it is that you're selling itself? Is it us? And just shut up. Let them tell you what the real objection is. We've moved it on from a smokescreen into the real objection, which we can handle way more efficiently. Just very quickly before I carry on, if you are struggling with these objections and you're finding it very, very difficult, there's a link in the description below where you can get a completely free trial to what we call Ask Adam AI. It's an AI software which reviews all of your sales calls, but also you can role play these objections with it to get yourself sharp. So if you don't have a competent objection handling partner or role play partner, why not have me as your role play partner? It's been trained with 700,000 words over my 17 years experience in sales. So if you did want to check it out and get yourself a free trial, click the link below and that'll give you a direct link into getting a 2-week free trial with it. No obligation to carry on. So the next one, and this is probably like out of all of the smokescreen objections that ever existed, I hate this with a passion, and it's, can you send me an email? The reason I hate it so much is because how is that going to solve anything? What do you want on your pissing email? It just doesn't make sense to me. Again, they believe in the back of their mind that they need to see an email, but there's something fueling that objection. Your job as a salesperson is to uncover what is fueling it and handle that objection, which is probably going to be fear, risk, or trust, because it always is when it comes to real objections. So there's a couple of ways of doing this, and I really like this style. This is a Daniel G. So if you don't follow Daniel G, by the way, he's unbelievable. I think he's Canadian, is he? Or based out of America anyway. unbelievable. Like, if you're not following him online, definitely do it. But one thing he talks about quite a bit is selling the exit, and this is a perfect example of where you probably should sell the exit. Yeah, absolutely. I was going to send you over an email anyway. I wasn't going to expect you to onboard as a client and not have any information. So what is it specifically you wanted to see in that email? Is it, where's that kind of concern, or where's that uncertainty coming from? Is it about us? Is it the program, product, course, whatever it may be? Is it the investment? And just shut up. Let them tell you what it is. Then they're probably going to tell you what it is, and then you can handle it. It doesn't mean that we're actually going to send them an email, because there's I can't remember the salesperson that says this, but one of his objection lines, I really like it, and it's like, have you ever had a conversation, have you ever had an email that's actually more effective than a conversation? I mean, in this scenario, you can't use that, because they're going to go, well, yeah, in this case, yeah, I need to see some details in an email, and you just fucking lost straight away. At the start of a call, when you're being a little bit cheeky and you've really got nothing to lose, then yeah, that's a really good objection handle. But the psychology behind it is absolutely correct. Email, you're just going to put in what you put in the email. In a conversation, you can have a conversation. So if more questions come up, you can actually handle it or answer them and make sure that they're sure. It's just about not being that needy, like, salesperson, having a with or without you energy. When you sell the exit and you give them a way out kind of thing, you don't need that business. They need you more than you need them. And that's how you should be as a salesperson. I'm not saying you push people away deliberately and you're being a bit of an arse because of it, but if they're going to just mess around and not give you real answers and stuff like that, you shouldn't have the time of day for that stuff. So you've got to have that with or without you energy. So don't be scared of giving the exit. What we're driving here is decisions either way. The best salespeople on the planet get way more no's than yeses. The most average salespeople on the planet don't get no's. They just get a shit ton of maybes and a few yeses. But the best salespeople on the planet get loads of no's. I would much rather have a pipeline full of like logistical objections where most of them come, like my 80 to 100% confident pipeline pots, and have hardly anybody in my 25 to 50% pots. What is the point? Most salespeople have got fucking loads of people in those 25 to 50%, and it never comes around. Nothing ever happens off the back of it. Now, finally, the next thing is going to be shopping around, or let me go and have a look at options and stuff like that. Another really sticky objection, because again, the prospect that you're speaking to, that makes logical sense. I'm not just going to commit to the first person I spoke to, or let me go back and speak to this person. Some people would be thinking, let me take your price to this company and see if I can get them to beat it. So we need to get on top of that. And again, mindset behind it, if they found everything that made sense to them, it ticked all of the boxes, they would move ahead, no shadow of a doubt. So the way I'm going to handle this, okay, no worries. Look, if am I right in saying, if you found everything that you was looking for today, it ticked every single box for you, you'd probably be biting my arm off at the elbow to get started, right? Well, yeah. Cool. Am I right in assuming that maybe something didn't quite tick a box then? And they're going to go one of two ways. They're either going to go, well, no, it did. And then we know that's actually just a fear thing. They just don't want to commit. But we can ask them why. I'm not saying just go close straight away. There's more to it than that. We're talking about smoke screens here today. If more often than not, go, yeah, okay, cool. Well, look, I don't want to be working with anyone that isn't solid 10 out of 10. So what's missing for you to be a 10 out of 10 at the moment and to be biting my arm off right this second? And just shut up and let them talk, because they will tell you what the real objection is, and then we can overcome it. Now, again, in the comments, if there's any other objections that you're getting day in, day out on your sales calls that you need handling, put them in. We can see if we can do a video off the back of it, or I can just give you some tips and advice in the comments. But those 5 objections should cover the most stickiest objections, but more importantly, the most popular objections that you're getting on your sales calls. Again, there's a fundamental problem if we're getting them at the end of every single sales call. It means we're missing stuff early in the call, but I'm not naive to think that you're never in a million years ever going to get to the end of a call and you're going to have one of those objections. Specifically, the need to think about it. But if you can get those down verbatim, or at least have your own version of them, understand how you need to handle them, but be more importantly, be sharp as a tack, as my old mate Jordan Belfort says, sharp as a tack, enthusiastic as hell, and a force to be reckoned with, you will close a ton more deals. If you found this video super useful, YouTube, as it always does, as I train it to, will tell you to watch this video right here, because I think it's probably going to make you a better salesperson. Check it out. Please like and subscribe the video. It really does help with our reach. It helps us as a business. It helps me record more of these videos. And good luck with your sales, and I'll see you in the next one.